Hey, would you like to get into spearfishing and, uplift some abalones? Pull out some crays from under the rock? Or shoot some fish? Well, have a look at this video. I'm going to tell you about pathways into spearfishing or diving, because there's a bit of an overlap when you're talking about spearfishing, snorkeling, scuba diving, free diving. There's a bit of overlap. It's primarily about spearfishing, but if you're doing those other things, this video will be helpful as well. Now, there have been people out there that have made other videos already about this topic. I feel I want to make one now because I think they've left some things out, some important things that I want to try to fill in the gaps. Now, I may end up leaving some things out myself, but I want to try to fill the gaps because I feel like there's information that you need to know if you're going to do spearfishing, and the other videos aren't telling you. So I want to be straight up with you. I mean, this is one of these situations where do you want someone to paint you a rosy picture, or do you want the truth, even if the truth is ugly? So that's what I'm going to try to address in this video. Okay, so what is involved in spearfishing anyway? Well, typically, you get yourself a wetsuit, a weight belt, mask and snorkel, spear gun, fins. You go into the water and you shoot fish. And your spear gun is typically connected to a float line and it's connected to a float. And sometimes from the float you will hang a catch bag and you will store the fish in your catch bag, or you can store it on the line. That's spearfishing in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. But that is fundamentally what you're signing up for. Now, when you look at the pictures, the videos, the other YouTube videos, these guys make it look pretty glamorous. Like, it's pretty awesome, right? Well, there's a lot of things that really suck about spearfishing and are difficulties, and you might not be the right person to even do it. So, look, this is going to be a bit of real talk in this video, but you might also be the right person to do it. So let's talk about what species you can typically expect to see when you're spearfishing. There are basically about 4 or 5 types of fish that you will encounter whilst spearfishing. You will encounter abalones. Here in New Zealand, we call them paua. Those are those round, disc-shaped things. They stick to the rock. They're difficult to get off, and you typically use a tool to remove them. They've got size limits. They've got catch limits. In fact, all of the fish species have size limits and catch limits. You will encounter lobsters. In New Zealand, we call them crayfish, or the Maori name is kaura. Yeah, they typically live under the rocks, and they don't go walking around on top of the rocks unless it's in nighttime. To get crayfish, you've got to get good at diving from the surface to the bottom, usually in a few meters of water. They don't tend to live in the shallows too much, and search under those rocks, pull them out. You will encounter demersal fish. Demersal species of fish are ones that live on the bottom feeders. And you've got pelagic fish. Pelagic fish live in the middle of the water column or closer to the top. So some examples of those in New Zealand, pelagic species would be like kingfish or kahawai. Demersal species would be something like butterfish or leatherjacket, for example. Those are both fish that live in the seaweed, and the seaweed is on the seafloor, making them demersal species of fish. What gear do I need? Well, there's lots of videos, I'm sure, already that are already out there about that particular topic. What I will say is that you need a good mask, snorkel, wetsuit, weights, fins, socks and booties, spear gun, float line, float. That's pretty much your essential catch bag. That's pretty much the essential stuff you need. And of course, if you get serious about it, you need one of those. or a kayak or some sort of aquatic transportation device. Look, that is one of the things about, we'll get into this a little bit later in the video, but if you're going to do this, most of the good diving that that will be available to you, that you can go and do, is going to be diving from a boat. Shore dive locations, depending on where you live geographically, may be pretty few and far between of places you can go to shore dive. And like where I live here, you need a boat. What I will say is, look, this is not a video telling you what gear to buy. There's lots of videos like that already. What I will say is just this, that people who do spearfishing, who do free diving and spearfishing, they get specific types of gear for a reason, because it works and it's actually designed for the application. So an open cell wetsuit, use that, get that, rather than getting a surfing wetsuit, or a scuba diving wetsuit. So the open cell wetsuits, they're softer on your skin. They're more comfortable. They sort of stick like glue. You have to lubricate the inside of them with, shampoo or conditioner or some such, thing. And when you wear them in the water, they're very comfortable. They're very form-fitting. And comfort and relaxation is important because you're talking about a sport that requires breath hold. So being comfortable in water is extremely important. You also need free diving fins. So you can't really do this sport with snorkeling fins or scuba diving fins. Yes, you can sort of do it for a while, but after a while, if you're serious about it, you're going to be like, I need the free diving fins. So look, you can start with the plastic ones. You can get the composite ones later on. Again, this video is not about what gear to buy. Well, what I'll say is, don't try to reinvent the wheel here. A lot of us divers are guilty of doing that. Spearfishing gear exists for a reason. Try to stick with the stuff that other divers are already using.
Has been paid for already.
What level of commitment is required? This is the part of the video where I tell you that you might not be the right person to go spearfishing, and you might let other people down if you do this. I recently asked a friend, what is the predictor of a good dive buddy? Someone who's going to go diving, going to go spearfishing, not going to let you down. And he told me, young, single men. No girlfriends, no kids, no wives, no other hobbies. And that sounds like, whoa, like, geez, you're cutting out a big chunk of the population there. Well, here's the thing. Spearfishing is generally weather dependent, and it requires a lot of commitment to do it, and it tends to be an all-day activity as well. So because it's weather dependent, it's difficult to plan for it. You can make a plan to go, and then just like today, you can end up windy. And when it's windy here, on the land, out there on the water, it's horrendous. It's blowing a gale. So you don't go. So you plan to go and then you don't go. So it's difficult to plan for this. And like if you've got children, pets, dependents, girlfriend, husband, wife, other hobbies, other things in your life, then those things essentially come into conflict with you going spearfishing. You make the plans and then it doesn't work out. And this is where you have to be really careful, because when you get into establishing relationships with other divers and talking about dive buddies and stuff, you've got to really be honest with yourself and with the other person. What can I even commit to? Can I actually commit to this?
How does it feel? Is it okay? I think it's a little bit too heavy. Okay.
But what if I feel like I can't meet those commitments? Well, there are some compromises, of course. You could compromise on this by doing this activity once or twice per year. You could go out there and do it solo, which is not recommended for anyone going diving. It's just a standard safety practice for all divers to go with buddies. Look, drowning is a thing. Shallow water blackout is a thing. You don't really want to do this alone, to be honest, but you could do that. You might very well compromise on location, like you're only going to dive in your specific little spot that's close by to you. You might compromise by sort of saying to your your family, your kids, whoever it is, that, look, I'm only going to do it this particular time of the year, this particular month, this particular day, whatever. You can make compromises, but you've got to be honest with yourself, and you've got to be honest with other divers, because if they invite you on a boat and you say yes to it, and then you're cancelling at the last minute, you're pissing them off. Don't piss them off. You won't get invited back. So yeah, look, this is the ugly truth part, right? When I first started diving, I didn't know anything about dive buddies, and I had a lot of people let me down. All right, so you're still watching the video. I haven't scared you off just yet. Well, how do you get started? Well, a good place to get started is at the swimming pool, all right? You got to learn to swim, and you got to learn to dive. Then you get yourself some gear, and you go to the beach, and you learn to snorkel. That's how you get started. And you can do all of those things essentially by yourself. But the more skill level and the more you take on, you can then kind of transition into that realm where you need a dive buddy. Some people are fortunate. Some people have a mentor. They have, a father or an uncle, family member, someone who has already done it and already has the knowledge. Most of us are not that lucky. I was not that lucky. No, I've got nobody in my family knows how to dive. I'm completely self-taught. I've spent the last 5 years learning, teaching myself and learning from other people. And that is where you should join a club.
Here, we're beach launching and on the Kaikoura Peninsula.
Should I join a club? Absolutely yes. You absolutely need to join a club. If there is a spearfishing club, or a freediving club, or a snorkeling club, or a scuba diving club, if there's some group locally, join it. You don't have to join it forever. You don't have to meet every single person in the club. You don't have to attend every single club event. But what it will do is it'll introduce you to people. You'll meet people. You'll network. You'll gain knowledge. And you might get invited onto boats, and you might get, invited to events and trips. There is a lot of positive benefits to joining a club. If you can join a club, join one. Which then leads us into freedive training. Should you do freedive training? Yes, absolutely you should. Now, sometimes the club will do freedive training. Sometimes the freedive training is completely separate from the club. Now, when I say freedive training, I'm not talking about scuba dive training. I'm not talking about the PADI open water course. Freedive training involves learning to fin in the water, learning to hold your breath, learning to stretch your lungs, learning to take in a full lungful of air, learning how to be relaxed, learning to improve your finning technique when you're in the water, learning how to do a shallow water blackout retrieval/rescue. Don't know what that is? Then you need to do some freedive training.
We've got 5 powers in a while.
Yeah. Of course, between your spearfishing club and your freedive training, you get a little bit of opportunity to network with other people. So you may get the opportunity to meet a dive buddy. Now, this is the person that is potentially going to save your life from drowning one day. A dive buddy is what you want. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. Your first dive buddy may not be your best dive buddy. My first 2 dive buddies were guys from work. And you know what happened? They let me down repeatedly. We planned to go diving, and either it never happened, or there was too many cancellations. I had my time wasted by these people. So this is the point where I learned, I realized, I came to the realization, I gained the knowledge that other people's commitments in their lives often, and with good reason, mind you, often supersede spearfishing. Spearfishing is this thing where you need another person with you to be safe, but they've got commitments in their lives, and their commitments may be more important to them than their desire to go spearfishing with you. This is the part where I said you want young single guys that don't have wives, girlfriends, kids, because there's less things in their lives that are competing with spearfishing. So of course you get guys like me who've been doing it a few years, and we've gone and invested into the sport, and we're on the lookout for these, young available people. But there are certain people that just do not make good dive buddies. And so you really need to think about it. It's not only about do you get along well with someone, but it's also, do you get along well with someone, and are they a good diver, and do they follow the fisheries rules? You know, are they a good person? Are they going to look after your boat? Are they going to pay you and contribute it towards your running costs? Because these things are expensive to run. And do they have time available to commit? Possibly one of the most, if not the most important function of a dive buddy is to actually be available to be a dive buddy, is to actually be available. So when you are screening people in your life and you're thinking about it, think about all of the factors. Should I buy a boat? Well, not at first, but possibly later on, yes. And that really depends on your individual circumstance. You may live in a place where there's lots of good shore dive locations, so no need to get a boat. You can just choose where your local spot is, go shore diving, Bob's your uncle, no problem. For the rest of us, might need a boat. Now, there are some compromises you can make here. You don't have to go and buy a full-fledged boat. A lot of people start off with a kayak. That's actually a really great place to start. I had an inflatable kayak, actually. That didn't work out quite so well. The thing was slow and sluggish in the water. But one of those fiberglass kayaks is pretty good. You may need to get a roof rack put on your car so you can strap the thing up and carry it. Kayaks are a good starting point. Gives you a little bit of micro mobility. You can get out there and you can travel a wee ways. And if a kayak's not enough and you need to take passengers, or you just don't find them comfortable, or you want to spend a bit more money, then you get one of these. You get a boat of some sort. Now, this is not a video on how to buy a boat or what type of boat to buy, but look, a lot of the good diving is accessible by boat only, so this may be the way you need to go eventually. So just consider that if you're going to start spearfishing and it becomes apparent to you that there are not really any good shore dive locations and you decide that you really love this, start saving up because you're going to need one. Well, I don't have a boat, or I can't afford a boat, or it's going to take me a while to save up for a boat. How do I get a ride on another guy's boat? How do I be the guy that gets chosen, gets picked to be the dive buddy for someone else to go on somebody else's boat? Well, you got to check out my next video to that. That is part 2. The next video is how to be a passenger, how to get a ride on another person's boat, because there is a whole set of do's and do nots regarding that.
Go back to the surface and bring it up. You see your grey people excited that. Alright,